because parts of your home state are burning up, and because as part of my job, I look at the CAL FIRE map of ongoing fires in the state of California on a daily basis, the president went there again tonight on dirty forest floors. He mentioned forest cities. Not clear what he was talking about. Put the blame squarely on forest management and not, certainly not, on climate change.
I mean, Brian, again, it's Donald Trump attempting to distract from his failures, including his failure to embrace science. I mean, even part of the question during the debate last night incorporated the fact that he said science doesn't know. I mean, Brian, seriously. The man was asked one time, well, science says this, and then the president of the United States says science doesn't know. Well, science does know. Science knows that we are facing a crisis in terms of the rapid changes to our climate, most of which can be addressed by changing and adapting in terms of our behaviors. Joe Biden offered a clear plan for not only what we need to do to save our environment and our climate, but what Joe's plan will do in terms of the creation of millions of jobs. And again, it's an attempt to distract from the fact that Donald Trump, on almost every issue that was discussed tonight, has had no plan. I was actually very impressed, not in a positive way, to hear that everything that Donald Trump talked about was what he was gonna do, as opposed to what he has done. Like, track the debate. I don't know how many times, I didn't count. He talked about what he's gonna do. He's been president for almost 4 years. And then when he feels like blaming anyone, he goes back to the prior administration and blames the prior administration for what he says its failures were, without addressing the fact that he's actually had no plan that has been about addressing some of the biggest challenges facing our country even before the pandemic. And God knows what he has failed to do because of his incompetence in dealing with the damage in terms of human life, in terms of economic harm that has resulted from this pandemic that he has failed to get on top of and to address in a meaningful way.
Final question, Senator. As you look forward to your debate with Mike Pence, it's been observed so many times they are such disparate figures. The president relies on hyperbole, and Mike Pence relies on what many have called a kind of straight-faced piety. He is still the head of the White House coronavirus task force. We are still in the middle of a pandemic, and the president, on Mike Pence's watch, is now seemingly getting medical advice from a radiologist from your home state.
That's a lot to unpack, Brian. Where shall I start? Listen, first of all, the president has denied science since he first came in office. I'll tell you, I served for a while on the Environment Committee of the Senate. And do you know that when Donald Trump and Mike Pence came into office as an administration, they took the word science and climate change off of various federal websites? We've seen actually a through theme in terms of their approach to science and fact, because, by the way, scientists are grounded in fact and proving fact. And there has been, we're seeing an administration, the Trump-Pence administration, that has been completely unburdened by fact.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.